Hi, everyone. My name is Derek Robinson. I am a part of the Aspen Dental Management company. I am the Academic Relations and Industry Manager for the ASDA Districts 10 and 11. Today, we have Dr. Jeff Livingston on our live session. We're going to be covering information on anything and everything related to his experiences in dental school, in addition to any questions and the process that he had going through with Aspen Dental all the way up until where he's at now, in addition to practicing in the private sector and also with Aspen Dental. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jeff Livingston. How you doing today, Dr. Livingston?
I'm doing great, Derek. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. You know, it's a little bit hot. I think we've already discussed that part. Let's start off nice and easy.
Okay.
We have 3 questions that have already come in, but before we even go into that, why don't you share a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, and anything and everything that you want to share right in the beginning.
Sure. Okay. So as far as for me, I actually grew up in Star Valley, Wyoming. And my dad is a dentist, and so growing up, I felt like I wanted to do healthcare. I felt like I was definitely smart enough to be able to do that sort of thing, and had good grades, and I had an academic scholarship to go to the University of Wyoming, and so that's what I did, and eventually graduated with a bachelor's in microbiology from the University of Wyoming in 2007. And I had applied to Creighton University, which is actually over there in Omaha, Nebraska. I don't know if anybody knows where Creighton is, but it's over in Omaha, Nebraska. So my dad went there, my uncle went there. I've had 3 cousins go there for dental, and so it's kind of been one of those where it's like, hey, dental, let's go do it. It's a family thing. So started in 2007 and graduated in 2011. Now, oh, hi, buddy.
We're not editing this part out.
I know, right? Okay. So anyways, what happened was that the thought process going when I was going to dental school was that I was going to finish dental school and then I was going to go back to Wyoming to practice with my dad. That was kind of the thought. That was kind of what was building and everything. And I was getting towards the end of dental school, my senior year, talking to my dad, and he just was not ready for me to come. That's basically, I don't know if I want to get too much into the weeds of that, but he was just not ready for me to come. And I needed to find a job, man. I don't want to say I felt like I was like scrambling, towards the end of my senior year, but it was about a month or so right when I was graduating, I had to find something. And so I talked to actually one of my friends, his name is Dr. Rich Davis. He graduated a year ahead of me. And so it's always good to keep in contact with seniors and everybody that graduates ahead of you.
Yeah, it always does.
They do go through some very unique circumstances that can benefit you. And it's always good to learn from other people's experiences and or mistakes. So I was talking to Rich. I was good friends with him. He still was in the area. He was actually a dentist for Aspen Dental in the Council Bluffs, Iowa, just right over there. And he says, you know what? He says, you know what, Jeff? Why don't you take a look at Aspen? You can learn a lot. You can do some really great things. You get to do a lot of dentistry really quick. And as a side note, you can make some pretty good money. And especially because that's always a concern coming out of school. We're getting these,
obviously
getting this hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt. And it's like, how are we going to service this? So I talked to Rich about that, and he said, hey, just why don't you talk to my territory manager? At the time, it was Sean McGarvey, and Yeah, she's definitely been promoted since then.
Yep.
But she asked, she asked me questions about what I wanted to do. And, I was honest with her. I said, well, I'm kind of looking for a job. I don't know how long it'll be for, but I know I can be, I know I can help, and I know I can, at least, do something and be a good support, as far as a dentist and everything is concerned. So I want to say she took a little bit of a chance on me, not knowing how long I was going to be around for. But she said, hey, I got some different opportunities for you, and not too far away, actually. So I started out as an associate over in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Nice.
And I would also I traveled also to and was an associate in Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for about a year and a half, actually. Got my eyes opened a little bit, what dentistry was like, and got to do a lot of things. My very first procedure out of school was extracting a couple of wisdom teeth.
Oh, yeah.
I broke a distal root on number 16, and I went searching for it. And
how many days in was that?
That was day 2. No.
Day 2. You're extracting wisdom teeth.
So I did some. No, it was day 1 actually. I did some observing. So I don't know if you want to count those as day 1.
Yeah. We'll cover that part.
Yeah. Then my first thing right out was, all right, doc, here's some wisdom teeth. Go for it. And I said, okay, let's do this. And so, but that was my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Starting out, and then I was able, I was able to grow. I got a lot of speed, got a lot more speed. It took time. I'm not going to say it was. I definitely was not perfect coming out of school. I still don't think I'm perfect, but always striving to get better. But I was able to, get some more speed, learn more treatment planning, all of those things, because you get to do a lot of dentistry, and had a lot of help and support from the business aspect, the business leadership people, and office managers, regional managers. That they want you to succeed. That's the thing, is when you're coming into a new environment. I guess people are thinking, well, do I have to do a certain amount or anything like that? And that's not what it was. It was like, hey, we know it's going to take time for you to develop, but we believe in you. We want you to do well. And, you have the knowledge. We're just here to be able to help support that. And that's what it always felt like. And after about a year and a half, Sean asked me to go basically run a practice in Iowa. Over there in Waterloo, Iowa. And so
that was something that wasn't forced upon you. It was
no
offered as an opportunity, right?
No, she asked and offered me an opportunity I was going to be the lead doctor, and she needed a doctor in Waterloo, Iowa. And I said, okay. And she helped move my family there and moved to Iowa and turn that office around, and did excellent. And
that's great.
And so that was kind of my beginning years of Aspen.
That's good. Let's hold that thought, because I know we can talk for days about that part. I did want to mention to everybody that did just happen to jump on last second is, first of all, I'm Derek again. I want to show, this is actually something that we're doing. I know I briefly discussed it in the beginning. I want to discuss it one more time before we start doing Q&A. We're offering a free CE opportunity for dental students and currently practicing doctors that are not a part of the Aspen Dental family. So if you see right there, if you visit aspendentalce.com/welcome, you're going to have access to the thousands of CEs in our active database library, in addition to upcoming CEs. So feel free to check that out. If you go to that website, you'll just sign up and you'll have the ability to access all that. This is something that we're doing as an effort for during COVID, to kind of engage everybody and let them know what we're doing for our doctors, not just our current doctors, but our doctors to be. So if you have a moment, feel free to check that out once we're all done. Again, this is Dr. Jeff Livingston. I'm going to start off with a simple question regarding the experience kind of from dental school and the job searching side, what was the biggest difference in flow from your clinical rotation in school over into Aspen Dental?
Well, I think the biggest transition, obviously, is that when you're in school, and I've talked to a couple of different doctors about this. You know, when you're in school, in a typical 4-hour clinic time, you see probably 1 or 2 patients, right? Because you have to get checks for, can I do this filling? This is the right, is this the right patient with the right medical history? Everything checks out. This is how much anesthetic I want to use. These are the materials I'm going to use, having all of those, checks. So, going from, seeing 1 or 2 patients in a, 4-hour clinic time to, anywhere between, 8 to 10, maybe sometimes 12, depending on how busy the morning is. It can feel daunting at first. But you're like, hey, wait, I don't have a clin check.
Yeah.
I am the clin check. And let's get going on this. And that was it took a little bit, but yeah, I had some good people around me to help with that. It was funny. So I don't know what your situation is going to be like, but I had a buddy of mine that he and we actually were working in the same office right at the same time, and from dental school. And yeah, that was. Do you know Dr. K from Omaha?
Me personally, no.
Oh, you don't know? Okay. All right. Well, anyways, he and I, we started together, and so we had 2 kind of new greenies out of school, and but we were able to help one another and say, hey, we know how to do this. Let's just do it, and we just jumped right in. We didn't have any reservations about it. Just jumped right in.
That's good. So a question we received yesterday was, what perks are available for a doctor straight out of school, and which ones did you use the most? So
perks, huh?
All the different, basically our services that we have available. Which ones, when you started working for Aspen Dental, which ones did you feel like you kind of leaned on a little bit more? You kind of mentioned it with Dr. K. And which ones have you kind of observed from afar?
Perks, huh?
So resources.
Resources. Well, I think what was really good for at least my family was the insurance part of it. Health insurance was really kind of a thing that was really helpful, I guess, right out of school.
Sure, the 2 weeks paid time off too, right?
Yeah, you got all these things you're thinking about, and Aspen Dental had an insurance plan we were able to take advantage of with the family, and very affordable. I didn't have to worry about it, and we just chose a plan and was able to do that. As far as other perks,
what about like the doctor development program or Edge or
yeah? So I did
opportunities.
Yeah, I did Edge at Edge or the doctor development program. Approximately, I think it was about five months after I started. After I kind of had a handle of how things are working in the schedule and that sort of thing, then we wanted to. Aspen wants you to meet some of the behind the scenes people that are helping to take care of all these things that you don't think really that happen on just magically. A lot of the
what
labs,
else did you learn over there?
What did I learn? Oh
yeah,
man.
or like what did they do during Edge, and where did you go and all that? Do you remember?
I went to Syracuse, New York. They don't do that anymore. They actually have you meet in Chicago at they have a nice new facility there, and we were right there in where everything was going on. As far as new things, we talked a lot about how some of the numbers were working. we saw a lot of yeah, a lot of the behind the scenes, like some of the Crown and Bridge people, what was being developed at that time, what they were working towards getting. We also talked a lot about some more of the leadership aspects, I would say, of how to interact with staff, some more conflict resolution scenarios, a lot of that leadership aspect. It's really important that, they don't always teach you that in school. It's like, here,
Yeah.
this is how you be a really good dentist, go.
Good luck. What about from the bit? I know you mentioned the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And just to clarify for everybody, EDGE is like you mentioned, it's a program that occurs about 3 to 6 months after you start with a company. Yes, you're working on your clinical abilities and you're getting stronger, but then once you start to feel very comfortable with that, we send you, all expenses paid, to either New York, or now it's currently downtown Chicago, to not only network with about 30 other doctors, but verify, you're learning the analytical side, you're understanding your potential future with the company, and then they're also kind of mentioning opportunities as far as ownership and things. Does that?
Yeah. Also, there's some other doctor things as well, as far as helping like treatment plan presentation. Not so much like what you're doing as far as dentistry goes. I mean, there's a few little things that are kind of unique to Aspen when it comes to dentures, as far as helping you with denture flow. And, what we're trying to do is help the patients today, a yesterday type mentality, because we do see a very interesting group of patients, and it's most of America, I would say, haven't been to the dentist in a long time. Blue collar, middle class families is what we're seeing. People sometimes that are in a lot of pain because they've neglected, people who are scared, all of those types of things. And then helping to, mentally help them break down those barriers so that we can take care of them. Those are things that are talked about, and bouncing ideas off of one another. And it's a very, people have a lot of strong opinions, because, their opinion always works. But if you go into it with the mentality, hey, what can I learn? What can I gain from this? You can gain a new appreciation for different, I guess you could say, phrasings, different approaches. And I still use a lot of that today from that training.
Awesome. Question that came in. It's a combination of both, so I'm just going to include it all and we can have a discussion about this. And again, anybody that has any extra questions, feel free to type it into the Q&A. What hours does a new dentist work per week? How much do they get paid? And then also I want to throw in, what are some of the differences between the average private office and an Aspen office?
Okay.
Where do you want to start?
Okay. So as far as average hours per week, it's about 40. Okay. And that kind of depends on what, if you're going in as an associate, what your lead dentist is kind of wanting to do as far as times. For me, I like to get up a little early. And so when it was just by myself, when I didn't have an associate, like let's say I was just by myself, usually we worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like 7 to 5 is what we would do. You have an hour lunch, there. We would stagger, we would have a late day on Thursday, usually, and we go like 9 to 7 with a lunch in there. So that last couple hours that, at the end of the day, it would help to kind of accommodate some of those patients that can't necessarily always come in, the early ones. And then on Fridays, usually I'd work like 8 to noon, something like that. And
you're not working like 50, 60, 70 hours as an associate, right?
No. Usually it's somewhere between 36 and 40 hours generally is what you're looking at. The way that we have it set up here is a daily rate. That kind of depends on what your, lead dentist or POP, like myself, owner decides. For me, I don't know, Derek, what have you been?
I'd be happy to kind of jump in because, obviously, just to clarify for everybody, Aspen Dental, every single Aspen Dental office is operated by a doctor, an owner doctor, and we call it the Practice Ownership Program. That's Dr. Livingston right there. And just to clarify, you are at 2 practices with anticipation of potentially owning 3 beginning in 2021, right?
Yeah, our 3rd one we're going to open up in. I'm in Oregon, by the way. Is anybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so
That was in the email.
There we go. Okay, so I have an office in Albany, Oregon, and also Kaiser Station, Oregon, which is Salem. Cool. The next one that I hadn't really chosen, but was actually helped by the real estate team at Aspen to kind of look at different demographics of where the potential of a new office can be. I guess coming back to that perk you were talking about, where am I going to look for a new office, man? I have somebody that can help do that sort of thing for me,
We take care of that for you.
Yeah, so they look at where that can be and where it can be successful. And so where has shown up on a map was Corvallis, Oregon.
Nice.
Is the next one. And if anybody knows Corvallis, what that is, that's where Oregon State is.
Oregon State, the Beavers.
People think, oh, that's college town. Well, there's actually quite a few. There's quite a good demographic of people there. We're actually going to get people that can come from the coast, and there's a lot of towns across the coast there, and so that's slated for 2021 as of right now.
Awesome.
So
let's keep. Sorry, we dodged the question. So as far as we offer something called a daily guaranteed rate, and since every office is the main goal is to have it owned by a practicing owner. The decisions are made 100% by that owner inside that office. So any clinical decisions that are being made are going to be made by that owner doctor. So with that said, also comes the daily rate. And it is a guaranteed rate, which means that you won't be making any less than that amount, which I know is a scary, daunting thing, especially for a dental student like just starting off.
Cool. Yep.
However, just to make it short and sweet, from a yearly amount range, you can make anywhere from $140,000 as an associate upwards of $200,000 based on something that we call profit sharing, which is basically how successful the office is doing. So, I think this is a good time maybe for you, Dr. Livingston, to kind of just briefly mention kind of how important the success of the office means to how much money you.
Yeah, this actually comes back to a little bit of my journey to a little bit when it comes to this, because so I was talking about how I turned around the Waterloo office and we were doing very, very well. I was, great bonusing, all that fun stuff, that comes along with it. And then I came to kind of a crossroads, because I remember when I was talking about my dad. He was telling me, hey, I'd really like to have you come out to Wyoming and practice with me. Family has pull in whatever you do, okay? Where you're going to practice, where you're going to live, all of those things. And, I made the decision that I didn't want to, look back and have any sort of regrets about not having a chance to practice with my dad. And it didn't really feel like the greatest decision, but I wanted to be able to make sure and have that basically cleared out in my brain. So I went and I moved to Wyoming to practice with my dad in his private practice. He still really didn't know how to handle an associate coming on. And so a lot of what a private practice is looking at, it's basically producing, what does the associate produce? And that's what they make their money off of. Usually it's about 30 to 35% off of what you collect.
Collections.
Okay. Yeah, collections, production, that sort of thing. Ideally, you want your production collection right around that 100% mark, but it usually ends up right about 95%. And so it turns into, okay, what is the associate in the office producing? Not what is the whole entire office producing. And sometimes in some situations, especially if it's maybe it could be family, could be not family. It gets into a little bit of a competition there. Who's going to be doing what main procedures? As an associate, sometimes you're going to get the crap stuff. I'm going to put it bluntly. You're not going to be getting, the bigger, higher dollar amounts, because guess what? That's less production for the, your main doctor in the office. Aspen definitely takes a different approach with that. I haven't seen it with other, kind of businesses I've kind of looked at. Aspen's approach is that, hey, if the whole entire office is doing well, everybody should be rewarded, better for that. Okay. Because it's, if the office is doing, my office, one of my offices, we're going to do about 250K this month. I want my associate to be a part of that, bonusing and because she's helped me, Dr. Mumpower has helped me. She should have an opportunity to, have I guess you could say some of the share of that pie, if that's the right phraseology when it comes to that. But, we've had an agreement on how that works. And her goal is to help me accomplish that. And our goal is to work together to make that. Because I don't want it to turn into a competition, because I don't want her to feel like, hey, I'm taking all the high dollar stuff and she's just getting the junk, and therefore she's not doing well because of that. But if it's a collective group, hey, we're going to come together, we're going to make the office successful as a whole, all of us are going to do extremely well when it comes to that.
That's great. So we had a question, and I'd be happy to help out a little bit with this part, but how many people work inside the average office? So how many people work in your two offices? Want to break down which individuals, not necessarily what they do, but just the terms and the names of them.
Okay, sure. So you have a doctor, obviously. With that's where we start always.
Yeah.
I do have an associate in my main office right now, Dr. Mumpower. I do have a hygienist. She has a little bit of a stagger schedule right now. We're in the process of trying to get another hygienist coming on board with that. And she kind
of. How
of
many dental assistants?
Dental assistant wise, I have 4 that I utilize in Albany right now. And we kind of stagger them a little bit just because of the hours that we work. But always have at least 2 or 3 dental assistants running around at any given time during the day in the office. And then I have anywhere between 2 and 3 kind of front desk people. And the vernacular with that, or I guess the short name for those is we have a PSR, patient service representative. That's like your first person that comes in the door, answer phones, that sort of thing. I do have an assistant office manager and an office manager with that. And so depending on the time, and they stagger their schedules a little bit because we have staggered schedule here, either 2 or 3 people up front. When it comes to that, the front office. And then we also have, I have 1 lab tech in my Albany office that does all of the denture steps, your full dentures, lab tech, full dentures, temporary partials, they'll make custom tray model, whatever you want, as far as that goes. That's what he does.
It's about between 7 and 12-ish people at any given time throughout.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair amount. I do have some days are a little bit more than others, because I do have an endodontist that comes in once every 2 to 3 weeks. She brings 2 additional dental assistants with her. And they kind of manage their own schedule. And then on other days too, I do have an oral surgeon that comes in once or twice a month, and he has 2 additional dental assistants that he's bringing in. So on average, I would say that's a fair amount, 10, 11 people in an office at a given time. Yeah.
Awesome. I know you started going into lab technician responsibilities and what they kind of do. Just to let everybody know, we have a lab technician in every one of our 800 plus offices throughout the United States. That's a huge advantage. Question came in. I really want to do implants. Does Aspen do implants? So obviously, yes.
We do implants. We have an implant education program that we're been getting together as far as that goes. We partnered with Nobel Biocare is who we use. I guess you could say the easiest way to put it is we kind of favored more of the Nobel Active implants, if anybody cares about that. You can do parallels, whatever you want on that, and then get that kind of figured out. But most of the training is geared towards more of the Nobel Active implants. We do have an implant support team that has implant continuing education. So it's kind of, if you don't have any implant experience, because everybody kind of starts out a little bit like, hey, where are you at, like with what you learned in school? Fortunately, I was able to learn quite a few little things in school and able to do some more implant stuff in school than I think probably a lot of maybe other people, because we didn't have a specialty in school, so we were it. So I got to do a lot more, because I know that in some schools you have a specialty. If an implant comes up, it goes up to the specialty department, you never see it again. So it definitely is there is a methodical way of doing it. There's the continuing education. Starting out, they want you to do so many cases as far as restoring, before moving to placing, before getting eventually to the all-on-4 stuff and that sort of thing. So there is a plan in place for that sort of development and growth when it comes to that.
So got a couple questions regarding kind of the office safety, the technological side. I know we're talking about implants now. Seeing some questions about PPE, so let's jump into that. What sort of changes are you making when you see patients now?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now the lobby's closed, and a lot of this is state regulation, as far as what you can do in your state. And I never ever want to take away from that. We have a team of risk management people when it comes to that are looking at each individual state and keeping an eye on what the regulations are in that state, because some are having to move from different phases of what businesses can be open. So right now for us, lobbies closed. Patients just can't come right in the front door. We do a phone call screening with a list of questions, COVID questions. We take their temperature of all patients and family members that are coming into the building. Each of them have all of that filled out. All have to wear a mask provided by us. We have, because there's those cloth masks out there and that sort of thing. So once a patient or family member comes into the office, they have to wear one of our masks that we wear around into the office. And we limit the number of people that can be in an operatory at a time. None of the front desk can go back to any of the operating rooms. Everybody in the office is always having to wear masks at any given time in the office, including the front desk having to wipe down some of the tools we use, iPads, different things for, patient records, health histories, that sort of thing. Countertops are wiping all those things down. So those are some of the things. Also, for any treatment that we do, I have 2 surgery suites in my office, and so those are utilized. Doors are closed for any aerosolized, procedures, fillings, actually anything, crown preps, extractions, because obviously you're going to use a handpiece, that sort of thing. Any procedure things that are going to involve any sort of invasiveness are done in those operatories. Hygiene, she can't use her ultrasonic right now unless she has a dental assistant suctioning for her. We are in the process of getting some other different suction things to help out with that. We're going to get some Dry Shield. It's kind of like an Isolite product. It's through Henry Schein. So those are some of the things that we're taking into account. Using N95 masks. Not the KN95. I don't know if anybody knows the difference between those. I don't know if you know the difference. KN95 is actually the Chinese standard of what they use. N95 is our standard.
Yeah.
So all N95, we got some extra face shields provided to the staff to be able to use if they're working on patients. So I guess that I hope that helps to explain.
Yeah, no, that was great.
Yeah.
And kind of on that note, how much has business been affected because of COVID?
Well, I'm going to be honest. It does present challenges as far as how many patients you can see in a day. Especially with new patients, if we're trying to get something done that day, it does present some scheduling issues when we're trying to figure out what chairs we can use for what. Different procedure, whether it's just starting impressions or, if we do have to do something. So, we've gotten a little creative on how that works, but it's been a challenge as far as that goes. But yeah, I don't know if that's, I don't know if that really helps on that, but it's been a little challenging on that.
Yeah, I mean, and
it's a few less patients.
Obviously so. Right.
Yeah, I think actually one thing I would say, we try and get more stuff done on patients in appointments when they're here and when they're there here in the office than if they weren't, I guess, if that's me.
Or returning, right?
Yeah,
let's try to make this one very straightforward visit. Let's try to get as much done as possible so that
I would say we try and do more of that. Yeah. And so I think, longer sometimes, and patients want that as well. They're like, man, if I can, just get more of it done in a day, let's do that, as opposed to a quadrant dentistry. Sometimes it's more of like half mouth dentistry, that sort of thing. So,
So question, are you using teledentistry? And if so, did you ever use it before?
So interesting. Okay. So I didn't, I got to tell you what happened with COVID. So as soon as COVID hit in middle of March, when they started shutting everything down, I basically had to furlough most of my staff, including like doctors and that sort of thing. So, that was
a company-wide initiative, just to clarify.
It was too, as well, because we were trying to figure out how to take care of it. So we basically moved everything into emergency only mode, which is fine. So I had an office manager in each office. I only had two dental assistants at that time who would float between the two offices with me. And I was just doing emergency care for probably 5-6 hours a day, just depending on what we would do. And I did have my lab tech who kind of floated between two offices as well. So yeah, it got
teledentistry,
and the teledentistry, I didn't do any. And but
Were you approved for it?
Power and Dr. Patel actually did. Okay. They were provided some laptops, and they had it was almost like this, and they were contacted and they did it. And so they would actually send me the stuff. They would get the patients scheduled and send them to me. I had no experience with it. Still really don't do a ton of it because we're trying to get those patients in on that. But that's, so when we furloughed people, we had some online stuff, and Dr. Patel and Dr. Mumpower did it.
So for those that are interested in teledentistry, it is an option. It is a possibility if they decide to go in.
Yeah, it's not as much of an initiative right now because most of the offices are open as far as that goes, and so we're able to get people in. But for a while there, there was, I think we had 4 or 5 people from Oregon doing it, and then they were talking to people from in a lot of places for it. So all
right, final question we have here, and then we will conclude, is how have you grown since joining Aspen Dental?
Okay, well, I didn't tell you the part where I came back, right?
Yeah.
So after doing private practice for a while, I realized how much, I love doing dentistry, but some of the business parts of it, I didn't love as much. And I felt like I was very alone in some ways with that. And I'd had some friends with Aspen that said, hey, got an opportunity up in Oregon. Do you want to go check it out? And I came up here. I'd never been to Oregon before, and came up here, and they were all really supportive of me coming here. And within a year after I came here, I bought the practice here in Albany, and the growth I've seen not only in myself. I'm not always a conflict guy. I don't like conflict, and sometimes I think in dentistry that's a lot of where some of us are at, and how to appropriately go through those channels. And so I've definitely seen it in myself, being able to help do some of that conflict resolution with staff, and I've seen that kind of growth in myself as well. I've learned more of the business aspect of it, but what I've come to find out is if I'm able to surround myself with people who can do those job things, I guess, job descriptions, as far as, people who are watching, the schedule, as far as managing patients and making sure I'm productive, then I can be able to focus on what I do best, which is the dentistry part of it. And, I've been able to learn implants since being out of school, done different courses within Aspen to be able to do that. Also, CE on my own. But I've been able to make some really great friends that I can collaborate with, which you don't have that. The thing you're going to learn is that dentistry sometimes can be very lonely. The friendships and everything that you have as far as collaboration at school, once you graduate, you're gone. You go. I mean, I don't like to put it in those terms, but unless you actually have maybe a working relationship with some of your classmates, potentially in an area where you're going to, you're not going to see a lot of those people again. And it's hard to stay in contact with them. But what I feel is that the doctors that I'm friends with around within Aspen, I can go to them and ask them for different, pieces of advice, whether it's how to deal with some staff members or different even techniques when it comes to taking care of patients' materials, that sort of thing. So that part has been a real helpful aspect in growth as far as being a dentist, and learning how to go from being an associate to being, the managing clinical, director person, the
lead doc, right?
Office, to then transitioning to owner, where now I'm helping to mentor doctors and helping to pass on information that I've learned.
That's excellent. Well, that's all the questions that we have for today. So thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
That flies there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was nice and smooth. Real quickly before I forget, one last time, we are, again, for those that didn't have an opportunity to see it, we are offering a free CE opportunity, aspendentalce.com/welcome. As you can see, that's kind of what it looks like right there. Once you go on there, you'll just be able to sign up. And this is for all current doctors that are not a part of the Aspen Dental family, and also all dental students that are interested in learning more about CEs and kind of our CE library. So feel free to check that out. If anybody has any questions, my contact information is here, and Dr. Livingston's contact is there as well. I know you'll have some questions, obviously, depending on how close you are to graduation, but at any point, feel free to reach out to us and be able to either ask questions about Aspen Dental or even not about Aspen Dental. We'd be happy to help. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in, being here, or listening in the future. Thanks a lot. Again, my name is Derek, Dr. Livingston.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.